You're listening to Wayward Addictions, the raw, real, and unfiltered journey through recovery, resilience, and the mess in between. I'm your host, CeeCee, and today I've got someone special joining me. He's been through the hell, he's got stories that hit home, and he's not afraid to speak the truth. Please welcome Daniel.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling me special.
You're special, we're all special. Well,
Appreciate
most
it.
of us.
Right. Yeah.
Can you take us back to your childhood, what kind of home you grew up in, and what love and fear or safety look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my mom, she was 15 when she had me in school, and my mom was like the real popular one, so they didn't work out, and he
Mhm.
was kind of, I mean, he was 16, so like what do I really expect? So my grandma helped raise me a lot while my mom finished school, and then when I was little, I remember us moving around a lot. My mom would
Mhm.
have these various boyfriends that were usually older and typically like alcoholics and very controlling. And and my earliest memory of the worst one was this one man when I was in third grade. My mom, I believe, was like 25 or something like that. She was in college. This man was
Mhm.
like 40. He was a real bad alcoholic. And that was like the first time I experienced like domestic violence in my house.
Mhm.
Um, because he was an alcoholic and he started off being real fun, and he would drink and get the music going, and it was like the first father figure type of person I had, and so it was really cool. And then he went and bought a house in Bonnie Lake with us, and it was the first
Where's
time living in a house.
Where's Bonnie Lake at?
Bonnie Lake is Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a nice part of Washington. Like there's a pretty lake up there, and it's kind of more of an affluent type of area. Like we lived on a cul-de-sac, which was like amazing with other kids. And
Mhm.
but once he got us over there away from our family, then he would start yelling at my mom, and then the smacking started, and then it became more frequent, and then the beatings would come like on a regular basis, beating her with chairs
My
and
goodness.
yeah, whatever he can get his hands on. I'm talking, my mom's face would be deformed at times, black and blue. I remember a time when I came out of my room and she was in the corner. And he had a gun in her mouth, and
Mm-mm-mm.
it got really bad for a couple years.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
Did
it
he hit
was
on
pretty.
you too? Was he abusive
Um,
towards you?
not not really. He would spank me, you
Mhm.
know, um, and he would kind of go overboard sometimes, but overall, he was generally pretty nice to me. Okay. And so, yeah, we had a pretty good relationship for the most part, except for watching him beat up on my mom, you know?
Right.
And but that was the first time I ever tasted alcohol. I was 10 years old, and he had a company party at our house, and there was a keg in the back room, and me and like four other kids were back there.
Mhm.
And that's where the keg was, and that's where us kids had to kind of stay away from the grown-ups and stay back there. And I was a weird, awkward kid, with a funny haircut. I had that old Richard Marx haircut most of my
Mhm.
life. and and so I was trying to be Mr. Cool, and I figured out how to use the keg, and that was the first time I got drunk, and kind of a late start, but
Yeah.
and and it was fun, man. I remember it was real fun. I got the BB gun out. I was playing around trying to shoot everything, and I was freaking out the kids I was with. They were all terrified of me, and
Oh.
and yeah, it was fun. But then my mom ended up leaving this man. Finally, she worked up the courage. It took a couple years of talking to my grandma, and my grandma willing to take us in, and because it's not easy to leave someone abusive like that. People say, "Why don't you just leave?" To a lot of the situations, but it's not as easy as people think.
No, it's
You
not. I've
know,
been through abuse myself, and it's not easy. People don't understand unless they're going through it or went
right? I
through
mean,
it.
yeah, you feel trapped, and they literally isolate you. Abusers do, like
Mhm.
from yeah, you lose your friends, family. You don't have your own phone. Like, and it's just everything's monitored. Your whereabouts, who you talk to. It's not
Right,
that easy. And then
right.
you have no money typically, so it's yeah.
Yeah, that's one of
But
the
she and
first things they do is so they can have control is take the way for you to be able to get money. And if they can
yeah,
control you financially, then you feel like, there's no escape.
right, right. And that's what he did when he moved us to this house because before he would come over to our apartment and he was Mr. Friendly, he was great. My grandma loved him. We all got along, but then when he moved us to this other town, which was a good 25 minutes away,
Mhm.
like, that was when it began. As soon as you know what I mean? And from
Yeah,
the outside looking in, it looked like a good home, like, it was a nice house on a cul-de-sac, and he was a charming man,
right.
had a good job, and we'd do the functions together, and I was in Cub Scouts and with the other kids, but once you close them doors, man, it was
Yeah,
a nightmare, man. I
yeah.
remember many a nights sitting in my closet, just in the dark, hiding or under my bed. Or
Mm-mm-mm.
if I got in trouble at school, I was worried that he was going to come home and just beat the hell out of me. But he never did. I mean, there was one time actually caught on camera. We were recording. He was from Illinois, Oquawka, Illinois, and so when we bought the house, he was recording. We were all three recording inside of the house on an old, shoulder pack camcorder thing,
Mhm.
and this is how quick something would set him off too. A quick example. And he was going to send that video back to his parents and his family back in Illinois. So we get to the master bedroom part and he's showing off the room and he notices on the calendar on the wall that my mom forgot to write down his mother's birthday on the calendar.
Mm.
And you could see it went from a jovial kind of fun like vibe
Mhm.
to he instantly changed and he was like glaring at my mom and saying things like, I wonder why she would forget that, and just like it was eerie and you could hear my mom's voice and her vibe just changed, like she was terrified. And
Mm-mm-mm.
and then we were walking out of the room and walking down the hallway and I ran up and did this little thing where we like slap each other on the back, kind of a joke thing me and him did. I was a little skinny kid,
Mhm.
wasn't strong at all. And he was like, "Why'd you hit me in the back?" And I was like, "Well, I was just kidding around. Like we're just doing what we do." And he was like, "I've had back problems," and then he boom smacks me and on camera, mind you, and I hit the ground and I was grabbing my face and I started to cry and he was like, "Oh, get up, quit being a girl," or whatever he was saying, and I was like, "Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
but you hit me," and that was the first time he hit me. I was really shocked, and he
Yeah.
and he put his hand out for me to grab it and help me up, and he grabbed my hand, picked me up, and then just boom, kicked me right in the head.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and then yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. And then
Mm-mm-mm.
he ended up apologizing a lot for that, but and that never happened again. But it was, yeah, that was a bit scary.
Yeah. So, when did drugs first start showing up in your life? Was it a party thing, a coping thing, or just being around it all the time?
The drug thing. Okay, so the first thing was like weed, like, and that was just, I guess, in the '90s in high school. It was kind of like a cool thing to do, and people would get stoned once in a while. And I think I was like 12 when I first tried weed, 12 or 13. I had an older
Mhm.
cousin that would smoke weed, and I tried it, and I was drinking a little bit here and there. And being 12, 13, getting your hands on pot isn't always easy, and so it wasn't a common thing. But my mom at that time had gotten really bad into alcohol and then crack cocaine,
Yeah.
she would leave for days on end and go like 45 minutes away to her dealer's house and stay there and leave me and my cousin at the house for a couple days. And then so at some point she switched over to meth, which was crank back then.
Mhm.
And so the house we lived in turned into a trap house pretty much. Like, people were coming and going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I
Yeah.
was 14 at that time. And and I got curious about it one day and I broke into my mom's room and I found this little scale um with a little purple scale, not a digital scale, but the people from the 90s probably know what I'm talking about. But it had
Mhm.
this big bowl on it with a bunch of white stuff caked in it. And I remember scraping it and I had learned from kids in the neighborhood that put it on foil and whatever, smoke it. And so I tried it and I liked it. I
Mhm.
was like I had energy and I got my room clean and all my chores done and I was walking all around Puyallup where I lived and I had all this extra energy and man, I really
Right.
liked it.
Right.
And I didn't feel so awkward anymore, you know. And I was 14, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my mom caught wind of it and was really against it for the longest time, but then eventually we started doing it together when I
Yeah.
was 14. And it's crazy because people were like, "Oh, moms are," my mom. I just want to say this real quick about my mom.
Okay.
Um, my mom and I, yeah, we did drugs at age 14, and that's something she regrets to this day. Um,
Yes.
but my mom was a good mom to me. Like my mom always made sure I had food, a roof, clothes. She protected me from sexual abuse. I never was sexually abused.
Mhm.
Um, my mom was a pretty good mom. She was just an addict and an alcoholic, and so she did the best she could in her situation. So I don't at no time want people to think that
Right.
like it's you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I love
Addiction.
my mom dearly.
Oh, yeah. Addiction does something to your brain. You're not the same person you was.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I was in my recent fentanyl addiction, I was smoking it right in front of my son. So I
Mhm.
completely understand, you know, uh, her state of mind back then. She didn't like it. She didn't endorse it, but at the
Right.
same time, like I was going to do what I was going to do. And she knew that,
And she knew
you
you was
know,
okay as long as you was there with her. So.
right. She was one of those moms, where like my 16th birthday, like she let us all go over there and have my birthday party and bought the alcohol and stuff, but made us all give her the keys and made sure we didn't go anywhere. 'Cause we were going to get drunk on my birthday regardless, and
Mhm.
we could have been out driving around, doing God knows what, or
Right.
safe at the house. So people have different opinions on that kind of parenting, but it's whatever.
Right. It's the way I
And,
see it, it's the way that you've lived and nobody else has lived it, and, what they
right,
think
and
of
stay
it
out of
is
it.
yeah, what they
It
think of
doesn't
it is
matter.
none of your business, and it's none of their business, you know what I'm saying?
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
And so that was meth, right? And so then when I was 17, I had my first taste of opiates, and opiates are my like number one love. And
Mhm.
I had like five Vicodin, and I swallowed them all, and I felt really good, and I threw up, but I felt really good when I threw up, and I was just like, oh my god, like I found my cure to everything in opiates. And of course, being 17, those were hard to find, so I just kind of continued with the meth, and whenever I would find opiates, I would take them,
Mhm.
and and then switched over to crack cocaine when I was 18 because my grandfather sold it. And I lived with my grandfather till he died. And he was an old man on an oxygen tank, and he was selling, he had me selling crack cocaine for him down in Tacoma. And I got curious about it one day and tried it. And crack is like the most addictive drug. I swear to God, you smoke it and you instantly fiend for more, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
And did that for a few months and till he died, and that was it for crack.
So, were there people in your life trying to pull you out of the addiction or
God, no,
no?
no, Nope.
So
Um,
you had to pull yourself out by yourself.
well, I didn't pull myself out really until just 2018. Like this carried on. Well, no, when I was 16, uh, my aunt and my uncle, well, my uncle and his wife, they lived in the next county and they saw what I was going through with the meth
Mhm.
and they were concerned about it. My mom's brother, and and they came and picked me up and tried to give me, and they got me back in school when I was a sophomore, and tried to give me a better life, and I ended up screwing that up,
Mhm.
and ended up moving back home to my mom's, but they tried, and I got sober off the meth for a little bit, the crank for a little bit, and it just did the normal partying, drinking, in high school type of thing. But other than that, the people I was around, especially in Pierce County, Washington, they
Mhm.
were all enablers, and everybody in my family was using or drinking or committing crimes.
Yeah.
And then when my mom got with her husband when I was 17, that was really bad because he was a drug addict as well, and feed it to my mom and myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it carried on through my whole life. Through my 20s, through getting married, having kids, opiates,
Yeah.
primarily opiates and alcohol.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? What was your rock bottom, I guess, is what I'm to
Okay. So that's a hard one because I feel like I've had so many, you know.
yeah.
There were so many times throughout my life where I was asked to quit by either, my mom when she would get sober, or I got married at age 25 and had my son Blake. And, she would ask me throughout. She also enabled me too. She knew about my opiate addiction and was okay with it as long as I took care of our family, and I had a business at that time, and she would do meth with me every now and again, and
Mhm.
whenever we could. And the drinking she put up with until like 2015, 16, my drinking got really, really bad because I wasn't really using drugs a whole lot because I was living in a small town. I was drinking really heavy. And so
Mhm.
I lost my wife and my kids. Like we got separated in 2017. And during my alcohol withdrawals, which were really bad, by the way, that's when I got hooked on heroin.
Mm.
Um, crazy. I was looking for something to take the edge off it. And in that small town, all we had was heroin.
Yeah.
And so I tried it. And again, I got that opiate feeling I loved so much. And then just, that took over. Because prior to that, I had a real bad, I don't know if anybody remembers oxycodone 30, the perk 30s,
Oh,
30
yeah.
milligram Percocets. Yeah, I
Yep.
was, for a few years there, I had like a 10 to 12 a day habit of those. Wake up and snort four of those for breakfast, and then just go do my business, which was my own moving company I had going for a while. And that's how I supported my habit and my family, because back
Mhm.
then pills were in everybody's home. And so I would legally go into people's homes to move their stuff, and I would find and steal their pain pills, unfortunately. And that's a big way I supported my habit. And on top
Mhm.
of it was my own business. I started it when the economy kind of in 2008 when it kind of went bad. Um, People, because I worked for many moving companies throughout my 20s. That's how I, took care of myself.
Mhm.
And I realized what they were charging, like $130 an hour for two guys in a truck. So hell, I would do it for $100 an hour and just go
Mm.
rent a U-Haul truck, and it worked out pretty good, and got real good at it, and got business was pretty good, and I was able to support my $200 to $300 a day habit, and take care of my family,
Mhm.
somewhat, and so after the heroin took hold of my life, right? I went downhill really quick, and I was living in a really shitty, broken down van one day, and I was shooting up heroin and meth. With it, I was using needles, and
Mhm.
my mom, uh, it was the last weekend in 2018 that I used heroin before I ever went to treatment for the first time. My van had broke down in a dentist parking lot on a Friday, and it was on a Sunday. My mom came pulling into the parking lot to bring me some food, I believe, or whatever. And she was sober at the time, and she
Mhm.
had saw me uh, trying to inject my heroin, right, with the belt on my arm, and I remember the look on her face, and it just broke my heart. And so she said, "Are you done? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't know what to do, mom. Like, I just don't know." And
Yeah.
she was like, "All right, look, come to my house. Once you walk in that door, you're not leaving without me." And at the time, she was dating this man named Kevin, uh,
Mhm.
who was heavy into AA. And she was like, "You're going to go to AA with him,
So
and
that
we're
was
going to
a
get you."
totally different change there, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It was, yeah, it was crazy. And
Yeah.
so I took the deal, and I was like, "All right." So she got my van towed out of there and got me home. I remember first thing I did when I got there was took a bath, and I conned my mom that first day into me buying $20 worth of heroin just to kind of take the edge off. And I told her just down the road in this parking lot was my dealer, and I said that he had my ID, and I
Mhm.
had to pay him $20 in order to get my ID because without my ID, I couldn't get the treatment. And so she
Oh,
was
yeah.
gullible back then. She fell for it, and really, I was just getting heroin. And
Well,
so
addicts are master manipulators, that's
oh
for
my
sure.
god, yeah, oh, big time, big time. My mom's real hip to it now. Like, there's no, if I text her and I've relapsed, she knows about it. Like, it's crazy. Moms have that
Mhm. Oh,
sense.
yeah.
But so I went to her house, took a bath, shot up the heroin, and then like 6 days later, I got in my first treatment center, and
Okay.
I completed. I was really proud of myself. 54 on day 54 of being sober, I relapsed. My mom and her boyfriend went to on a weekend or on a day trip, and I kind of took off and got a little bit of heroin and relapsed, and then didn't tell anybody, and continued to act like I was sober for a couple more months. And but that was my first introduction to AA, and I really liked it. I liked it a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great thing.
Yeah, I've never been to AA or anything like that. I tried to whenever I got clean, I started going to the Suboxone clinic, and, there's mixed feelings on that too with people. But if it
Yeah, but
hadn't been for
yeah,
Suboxone, I probably wouldn't be here. It saved my life,
right.
I believe.
Oh, absolutely. And people that have their opinions on Suboxone, like, mind your business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's keeping somebody off the heroin and the meth, and they're going about it with a doctor and doing it the right way, and they have their exit plan, or really whatever, like, it's nobody's business. People's recovery, like, they need to mind their own business and stop taking other people's inventory.
Yeah, 'cause
You know?
not 2 people are gonna recover the same, like you said.
Exactly. I'm on Sublocade, which is the time released once a month shot that's Suboxone. So if I
Mhm.
wouldn't have done that, like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it, because I've been trying since 2018. I've not been successful, you know.
Mhm.
And 12-step programs aren't for everybody. They're really not. But if you give it your 100% effort, and because for someone like me, like, just removing the drugs and alcohol it wasn't enough for me, because I was still the same lying, cheating, stealing douchebag. And
Mhm.
so alcohol and drugs wasn't my problem, it was my solution. And so I had to figure out what my problem was. And so through working these steps is where I'm figuring that out, and my life's getting just better daily, you know.
Good, good. So,
Yeah.
s whenever you went to your mom's then and start going to the in or go started going to the AA, you said you relapsed, but you went back. So is that your sobriety now?
No, okay. No, I've relapsed and can't. I've been in and out for since 2018, probably 6 different times.
Oh, okay.
This last time, so when Blake was 9, he's 16 now. When he was 9, he moved in with me,
Your
and at
little
that point,
boy?
I lived with, yeah, my boy. Well, he's not so little anymore, but yeah, my boy. He moved in with me because we were apart from each other for about a year, and other than
Mhm.
that, like, I raised him. I was never an absentee dad, even through all
Mhm.
my drinking and using. He was always there with me.
Yeah.
And so I lived with my mom, who was sober at the time, and my mom said, "Yeah, he can come live with us." And so he moved in with us, and I was sober. I would get a few months of sobriety, and then I would get this urge to go and do a little heroin, and I would do it, and then I would go on this little run for a few months or however long, and then go back to detox and or go to another treatment center, and this carried on for a couple of years, and then we moved into this crazy woman I was I hooked up with, and shouldn't call her crazy. I loved her a lot. I really did, and
Mhm.
but I couldn't even love myself. I didn't know how to be a good boyfriend to anybody,
Right.
and she was so toxic as well as I was, that us together, it was just a bad combination. And
Yeah.
so after like 2 restraining orders, me and Blake moved into this tiny home farm. Uh, this angel of a man named Todd, who runs a tiny home farm in Buckley, took us in, gave us a place to live, and once I was on my own with Blake, I started drinking a little bit, and then the drinking went. I wanted to relapse on some heroin and couldn't find heroin anywhere. It was just fentanyl, and
Mm.
so I did a little bit of fentanyl, and it almost killed me the first time. But for some reason, that attracted me, and I kept on doing it, and that carried on for like 2 years. And then we lost our tiny home because I wasn't paying rent. I was cared more about my addiction.
Mhm.
And one of my viewers on YouTube helped us get an RV, and me and Blake lived in the RV for about 3 months. And and that's when my bottom really came, because like I had a roof over my head, I had my kid, like I had a good hustle going. So it's not like we were broke all the time, but like my kid was getting older, and I was starting to realize the life that I was giving him wasn't worth living at all. Like I was isolating us from people.
Mhm.
When our landlord would come on the property, we would have to be quiet and turn the lights off, and like I wouldn't want him to go barbecue with the neighbors because I didn't want them to ask me to join, because I didn't want people to get to know me because
Mhm.
I was a fentanyl addict, right? And then the scary part was on my motorcycle. I'll sum it up. I wanted to die pretty much, and the only thing keeping me from dying was Blake,
Mhm.
because I couldn't handle somebody going and telling him, "Hey, your dad didn't make it home." So there'd be a few different times I would take off on my motorcycle and fly through red lights. And this one day, the day before I went to detox for the very last time, actually, I went down one of our highways, our Highway 410. I got on the opposite side of the highway, and I was going about 120 down the
Mhm.
center lane with my eyes closed,
Mhm.
most of the time,
Yeah.
just hoping like I'll just head on with somebody. But I was still so scared to do it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like you kind of welcome death and you're okay with it, but you just didn't want to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like just
I
God, if
get
something's
that.
gonna happen, let it. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And so that was kind of my bottom. And I recorded the relapse video on my YouTube channel in the cemetery. Matter of fact, that's when I kind of made the choice. I was crying on the video, and I said I'm gonna go to detox, and called my neighbor, asked her if she can get me to detox, and well, I asked somebody else first, and I kept putting it off. I put it off for about another week until finally my neighbor said, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'm picking you up and you're going. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I did. I went to detox, and then a couple days after detox, I went to treatment. And and finished it, and here I am, 8 months and 16 days sober today.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm so proud of
Yeah,
you.
thanks. Yeah, me too. It's crazy. It's
So the
crazy.
early days of sobriety can feel like you're learning to live all over again. What were those
Ugh.
first few weeks or months like for you?
Oh man, it was. I hope. Oh man, it was. I hope I'm not talking too much here when I go on my tangents. By the way,
You're
but
fine. You're fine.
so like the first few times I would get sober from 2018
Mhm.
until now, it was like great. I was on a pink cloud. It was always like around summertime, so there was all kinds of activities to do. I was really jumping into the 12 step
Mhm.
programs. I just wasn't doing the work. I would just go to a lot of meetings and I would get like girlfriend and the job and I would just get enough sobriety to get my life back. And I was on a pink cloud always.
Yeah.
But this last relapse really messed me up. So when I was in treatment this last time, it was great. I met some really good, solid people. I did the best I could to try to be helpful to others, and I feel like I really made a difference. I did a lot for people. I'm not like trying to brag or anything, but I just felt really good,
Mhm.
and I had a lot of support. And when I got out in the real world, it was great for about 2 weeks. And then after that, it got really bad. It got really bad, mentally. Like, that relapse really messed me up mentally. Um,
Yeah.
that fentanyl just man, I don't know what it does, but it gets you. And so I made a choice to move in this clean and sober recovery house, and, boy, was that uncomfortable, and I
Uh,
was depressed, and I thought everyone didn't like me, and, it was it what it was I wasn't doing anything for my recovery. I was just simply staying sober and going to my minimum 2 meetings a week. I
mhm.
didn't have a sponsor I was working with. I wasn't getting involved in the book of our program, and,
Mhm.
and so I was just the same miserable person just without the fentanyl, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was bad for the first 5 months. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
Right. So
I mean, it
what
was better than the alternative, but,
Yeah. Yeah. So what helps you stay grounded now? How's this time
uh,
different for you?
this time of sobriety or
Mhm.
well, a lot of it is my kids are too old to fool now. Like, when Blake was young, like, I can trick him and, "Yeah, daddy's just meeting this guy at the gas station because he owes him money, no big deal." He didn't know a lot about drugs,
Right.
and, I guess one of the biggest things is, like, I really don't want my kid to turn out to be like me, and if I'm not there and I'm not a decent role model for him, I'm
Mhm.
afraid he can take those wrong turns, kinda like what happened with me, and, that kid is my life, man, both of my kids,
Right.
and my daughter, she's smart enough, I don't worry about her too much, but, if anything was to happen to any of my kids, like, I don't know what I would do, and so, and also having a purpose today, like, having a purpose today really gives me something to look forward to. I'm in school now, to get my degree,
That's good.
and, yeah, trying to be a counselor, I'm thinking so far, that could change, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm just trying to push myself and just help others best I can. And so
So
having a little bit of a purpose gives me, a little bit of happiness.
Right. Right. So can you tell us, what made you start a YouTube channel, and why did you decide to talk about addiction out loud?
Um, well, that was kind of by accident. Um, so when I started my YouTube channel, it wasn't about addiction at first. I did a few other just videos, just kind of playing around when I was buying storage units, and I didn't mention anything about addiction at all.
Mhm.
But when I the first video I did, I don't know, I had nobody to talk to, I felt like, and I thought, like, I don't know, I really can't tell you why I started doing it. I recorded myself, and I was just honest and started talking about my addiction,
Mhm.
and I expected after I posted it to get, like, hateful comments, like, "Oh, you're just a junkie. How dare you try to raise a kid?"
Yeah.
But I got none of that. I got nothing but support and love, and I was like, "Oh my
Awesome.
god," and it felt really good, and so I was like, "Wow, okay, these people really care." And so I was like, "Well, I really care about the next suffering, alcoholic or addict, so I'll just kinda keep documenting this," and then, I knew I wanted to get clean and sober. I had to. I also had some legal stuff I was dealing with. I was looking at, going to prison, and I had a couple different cases open in different counties, and so legally, it was coming to an end here soon too. So I had to. That also factored into some choices I had to do different, and
Mhm.
so I started videotaping like my attempted detoxes, and again, the support was just crazy positive. And a couple people even said that they watched those videos and have gotten sober and are still sober. One guy in particular, my
That's
buddy Rhett,
awesome.
he he's more sober than I am because he watched the videos and inspired him to get sober, and he's still sober to this day, and we communicate,
Awesome.
like once a
Yeah.
week, and so that kind of stuff really drove me to keep on doing it. That
D
feeling of
right.
helping other people.
Does it ever hit you that you're changing lives by speaking about your addiction?
No, no, not really. Um, I look at it as just as I'm making friends,
Building
and
community?
yeah, and I don't know if these people realize it, but they're doing more for me than I could ever do for them. Like this
Yeah.
guy I was just speaking about when I was in treatment. There was a day I was getting ready to leave. I was like, F this place. I've had enough of this place. This place is a joke. I'm out of here. And boom, I get a letter that day from him and another person, for support. A few people wrote me when I was in treatment, a few of my subscribers, and showed some support, which was really amazing. And that's when he told me that he was still sober. And because of that letter, I stayed. And
Mhm.
so, and there's been other times I've been in spots where I'm just kind of like, F it, you know, and
Mhm.
he's been there. So, and other people that have messaged me and said that they're sober and they've shared their sober time with me. Yeah, I mean, I guess it has hit me a little bit, but I don't know. I try to stay humble about it, because it's not me doing it.
Right.
It's God doing it. You know,
Absolutely.
God's just pushing me to do what I do, and maybe speaking through me. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I
And so
think
then when
your
I
I think your channel
oh,
is great, so keep on building that community and
oh, thank you, thank you. I feel silly sometimes doing it. It's kind of slowed down because I feel like I don't know what else to talk about. Um,
just
I don't know. I feel silly some days doing it, but
well being yourself and showing people who you really are, and especially other addicts that watch you, that might be something for them that they can lean on that day, you know? You never know.
yeah, that's what a couple people have said, and so that feels pretty good,
Yeah.
you know. And when I got out of treatment, I decided, well, I documented like me as an addict and going through the recovery or the detox, and I might as well, keep doing it and showing people what it's like being in recovery.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I probably didn't show it in such a great light my first few months because it was kind of depressing, but
Yeah.
now it's not. So I guess because some people I've spoke to also, when I would do some of them videos where I'm just like, life sucks today, like I'm not feeling good at all.
Yeah.
Other people would message me and say, I'm feeling the exact same way. I'm glad you said something because
Yeah.
people think automatically when you get sober, life's just all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not always like that. Life's still life.
Yep.
It's still going to happen, but the difference today is I can handle whatever life throws at me with a little bit of grace and clarity. I don't have to go run to a needle or to a bottle to
Hmm.
solve my problems. So,
If there was someone listening to this that's strung out or ashamed and thinking it's too late for them, what would you say to them?
oh, if they think it's too late for them, oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness, it's never too late. As long as you're breathing. If you're breathing, it's not too late, man, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've heard so many excuses of people why they won't go to treatment. Like, oh, I got nowhere to go when I get out. Like, boy, get your butt into treatment. They will help you figure all that out. Like, there's
Yeah.
sober living, there's housing, there's programs out there, but you just have to make that first step. And so, I mean, I hear a lot of excuses from people that really just don't want to get sober, but it's
Right.
never too late, man. I've lived in a tent, I've lived in a van. Um, I went without showers for days. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I went without food for days, and like I mean, close to suicide. Even attempted it. Like it's never too late. As long as you got breath in your lungs, you have there's a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's just an excuse people like to say, in my opinion.
Some people don't like whenever they're in recovery and working on themselves like that, they don't like to see myself in the future because I like to take it one day at a time. Now I can see myself in the future because I've been clean for the last 8 years, so it's a lot easier. But just whenever I first started getting clean, I couldn't see where I want to be in 5 years.
Right.
So do you?
Heck, I still don't. I
Right.
still don't.
Okay.
Like I'm still learning. I don't even know what I like, which is weird. When I was first in recovery a few times, I would get an opinion really fast and I would act like I got 3 months sobriety. I'm Captain Recovery. I want to go save the world. Uh,
Mhm.
just to realize I don't know anything. I know nothing about myself. I'm figuring that out each day.
Yeah.
Um, now I'm realizing there's things that I don't like sober that I liked when I was using, and vice versa. You know, and yeah, the thought of getting sober was scary to me. I thought it was terrifying because I didn't know like what to do. Like, what do people do when they're sober? Like, how do
Right.
they go have fun? Like, I don't know. What do you do at a barbecue? Just sit there and talk to people? Like, that's weird. Yeah, like, how do you talk to somebody without being under the influence? Like, how do
Yeah.
you have a relationship with a woman? Like, I don't know. I just couldn't think of, yeah, it was crazy, but
I
that
can
fear held me
definitely
back for so
relate.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, it's crazy, but man, yeah, but now that you try it, now that I'm doing it, like it's crazy. Like it's hard to put into words what life feels like today with only 8 months and 16 days sober too. Like I can't wait till I get to where you are in 8 years,
Yeah.
and do what you do. Like that's gonna be amazing. Be married and have a life and skills and just peace of mind. I can't wait.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of work, and right
Absolutely.
now you're in a great you got a great start and a head start, and I hope you stay clean, and I'll pray for you and I'll pray for your children,
Oh,
and
thank you.
you know just hang in there and take it one day at a time, and you can do this
That's all
definitely.
we can do. That's
Yeah.
all we can do.
Do you have anything you want to say before we finish up?
Um, no, just that I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I'm glad to have met you. And if my kids are listening, I just want them to know I love them. And hell, if anybody's out there listening, if no one told you today they love you, I love you,
Right.
and you don't have to do it alone. Um, Reach out. There's always help out there. I know it's scary, super
Mhm.
scary, and it sucks, but if you want a different life, you can have it. It's all literally, and check out my YouTube channel. I could use the support.
That wraps up today's episode of Wayward Addictions. A huge thank you to Daniel for for joining me and sharing his powerful story and the community he's built around it. Conversations like these remind us that healing is possible when we come together with honesty and heart. I'm your host, CeeCee, and you can find Wayward Addictions on YouTube, Facebook, and our website. Be sure to check the show notes for all of Daniel's info, as well as links to everything we mentioned today. Thanks for listening, and remember, you're never alone on this path. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.